I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cognomovement system. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I am Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
McKenna.
Hey, Bill McKenna. And we're the team that hosts the New Life Perspectives radio show, and also the duo that created the Cognomovement system. Today, we're here with a really special guest, Dr. Joe Vitale. He actually has influenced both the careers of Bill and myself and our lives, as well as he is a speaker, an author, a consultant, a musician, a TV show host, and author of many, many, many books, might I say, and so many other things. So welcome, Dr. Joe Vitale.
Oh, thank you. I've been looking forward to this moment. I'm honored to be here. Thanks.
So I gotta jump in. We are so excited, that Joe came on, and here's why I'm so excited about it. Joe brought to the masses something called Ho'oponopono. And many, many years ago, early on for me, I learned about Ho'oponopono, and there was a very wise person who taught me about it, and looked up Joe, and started kind of the process. And Ho'oponopono, right? This amazing technique that Joe's going to talk about, but it has to do with when there is a problem, in your life. For example, you imagine the person, you say, "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you." And you feel this, and you say this in your mind to this person, feel and say that to this person. And I was like, I had been studying so many things, and there was a time when I had this, I had a beautiful yacht, and it was down at the San Diego Yacht Club, and I'm down there in the berth, and I'm kind of going to meditate, and I'm in this blissful state, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you." And I got, I thought, "Oh, I'm pretty brilliant, right? I'm going to help everybody in the world. I'm going to help everybody to forgive everybody. And I'm in this blissful state, and I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me." And then I became other people forgiving other people. And it was like the light switch got shut off. It was like I went from bliss to boom, the light bulb, it got shut off, and all the bliss went away. And the message, that I heard very clearly was, "It doesn't work that way, Bill." and I was like, damn it. I was like, ugh. So I get up, and I walk out, and there's like a little dirt path that goes around the bay, and I go for a walk, and I'm like, kind of like down because I'm like, can't get it right, and so I'm doing this walk, and then I just was like, well, Bill, do it for the people in your life. And I started imagining one after the next. "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me." This makes me a little bit emotional because and then the epiphany happened. "Hey, Bill, you know what? When you kicked the dog, that person, right? They went home and they kicked the dog, right? It is the downward effect of you." So I started the next level. I was like, the people I know that I affected beyond the person that I was mean to or whatever. "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you." And then I did the next level and the next. And as I'm going along the dirt path, along the bay, all of a sudden, I started smelling physically roses. And I'm like, and the sun was shining, and there was this tremendous rose smell. It was like you're walking through a garden with 10,000 roses. And as I was walking along the path, I was like, my God, this is the most beautiful walk I've ever been on, because there's like so many roses. And I'm thinking, my God, it's so beautiful. There's so many roses. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me. And I kept going. And I was just enjoying it so much of doing this. And it wasn't maybe 100 yards later, I was like, hey, oh, psst, what? Wait, hey, where's the roses? I'm smelling roses, but where are the roses? And I turn around, I drop out of the whole thing, right? And I'm looking for roses, right? And I walk back and forth that 100 yards, and I'm like, there are no roses. There was no roses. Anyway, it was this wonderful experience. They say when the Virgin Mary shows up, that is one of the things that happens. It's a vibration, and this happens to a lot of people. Anyway, Joe, I just wanted to, it was supernatural and it was beautiful, and utilizing the technique that you brought forward has really helped to impact, so many lives, and including mine.
Apparently so. Not only were you taking full responsibility for things, which is one of the fundamentals of Ho'oponopono, but you were stopping to smell roses when roses weren't even there. I think that is a great sign and a great story. Well done. Well done.
Well, I'm not the only one. Liz as well has benefited from your work. So tell us about, and Liz, I want you to share a story in a minute, but just tell us about what is Ho'oponopono, how'd you discover it, what's the road that you went down, and how did this all come to be?
Well, thank you. That is an amazing story, even a miraculous story. At this point, it was probably almost 20 years ago, I had heard a pretty preposterous story about a therapist who helped heal an entire ward of mentally ill criminals and helped heal them without actually even working with them. And at that point, I was working on myself. I've been doing it for a long time, and I had heard some amazing stories, but that one just didn't ring true. I thought that has to be an urban legend. How does a therapist not even work with mentally ill criminals at a state insane asylum and heal them? Nah, that's not true. So I dismissed it, but I kept hearing the story. And then it dawned on me that if there's any truth to it, I got to find out what the method was, what the technique was, because what could we do? What could I do? What could the world do that's not dealing with mentally ill criminals, but we're dealing with our health problems, our finance problems, our relationship problems? What in the world was this technique? Well, at that point, there was nothing to find on Ho'oponopono. I had to go to the extent of hiring a private investigator to go and find this crazy therapist. I did find him. I did get him on the phone. We did develop a relationship. He did teach me Ho'oponopono. We wrote the first book that tells the whole story together. That was called Zero Limits. And we did 3 events together, and he personally trained me in all this. So what is this? In short, it is a Hawaiian modern method of healing. And what it deals with is, first of all, as you pointed out in your great story, Bill, you have to take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. This eliminates all blame. You cannot point fingers at anybody or anything or any government or any virus or anything that not normal, but what other people might normally do. You can't do any of that in Ho'oponopono. You have to take full responsibility, which is one of the things people don't like about Ho'oponopono. What you do is you say it's all coming from inside me. Second level of understanding is to realize that what you're calling a problem is actually a perception that is originating in you. If you had a different perception, you might not call it a problem. you had a different perception, you might not be looking at your kids and saying they're doing something wrong, or your employer, or your employees, or your neighbors, or the hospital, or anything like that. So first level is 100% responsibility. Second level is you got to look at your own perceptions. The therapist, whose name was Dr. Hulen, used to do seminars with me, and he would stand and say, have you ever noticed that when you have a problem, you are there? And everybody would laugh, and then they'd get the little aha that, oh, wait a minute, I'm the common denominator in all of my problems. Me, I'm there. And so that's the second level of understanding. The third is there's at the very basic level of Ho'oponopono, the 4 phrases, which you have said, Bill, but I'll point them out so people get them and can do this process today, now. At the very basic level, the 4 phrases are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. You say them inside yourself. You say them while you're feeling whatever your upset is, whatever you're thinking is the other person's fault and your perception, and whatever the essence of the emotions are in you. Anything that's other than serenity means that you're angry, or you're mad, or you're upset, or you're disappointed, or you're grieving, or you're hurting. There's something going on. So you're feeling what's going on inside of you, and you're saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And who are you saying it to? You're saying it to the divine connection. Now, everybody has a different phrase for it. I'm a musician. My last album was called The Great Something. I'm calling that essence, that power, the great something. Others might call it God. They might call it the divine. They could call it source, the cosmos, the field of unlimited possibilities, all kind of names for it. But we know that there is something that we are part of. And even if you're an atheist, you can say nature. You're part of nature, and you're saying this to nature. So it's a kind of prayer. It's a kind of petition. You're taking responsibility. You're feeling what the issues are. You may or may not know what is triggering them in terms of the beliefs in you, which in Ho'oponopono is called data. But you're going within, and you're kind of calling up God, so to speak, and saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Let me take one more minute to explain what those 4 phrases are actually doing. I wrote 3 books on all of this to help explain it. So I've heard all the questions, and I generally know where people are at when they first hear this. So when you're saying, I'm sorry, you are saying, I'm sorry for whatever beliefs I or my ancestors may have had to help create this event in my life. Please forgive me for being unconscious to my own operating system, to my own beliefs or data that's in my mind. Thank you for healing me, taking care of the health issue, whatever this happens to be. Thank you for the process. Thank you for Ho'oponopono. Thank you for the cleansing. Thank you for the clearing. Thank you for the healing. I love you for giving me life. I love you for taking care of this issue. I love you for re-emerging me with the great something, with the divine, with God. So the very simple 4 phrases are actually saying a mouthful, and they're a combination lock that is opening up your own unconscious belief system. You don't need to know what the beliefs are. Ho'oponopono mostly goes in there and does a search and find as a kind of command to get to the beliefs and then erase those beliefs so you are free of the problem. And what happens from doing all of this is magically, miraculously, and in ways I have yet to been able to fully explain, the outer world changes. The best example is the one that caused all of this, the story I heard. The mental institution was the state hospital in Hawaii. The inmates there were so dangerous, they were shackled and sedated daily. They were unpredictable. And that doctors were quitting, nurses would quit. When Dr. Hulen finally went there, he said, I'll go on staff, but I'm not going to do what you all do, and I'm not going to work with the patients directly. He did Ho'oponopono. Who did he do them on? Himself. This is a key element to understanding how Ho'oponopono works. He knew to heal anybody else, he has to heal what he is thinking is a problem when he looks at the other people. So as he healed himself, this is where the miracle took place. The inmates got better. As he healed himself, they were taken off sedation. They didn't have to be shackled. After a few months, some of them were being released. After 4 years, they were released back into society. So Ho'oponopono, and this is the most basic introduction to it. Like I said, I did 3 seminars and wrote 3 books and all kind of depths and levels and nuances to it. But Ho'oponopono at its very basic is what I just described. And anybody going through a health challenge or any sort of challenge can use it right now.
Oh,
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
That is so great. Joe, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt, but my gosh, we gotta give UK Health Radio and sponsors a minute here. We'll be right back.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
It used to be hard to find the world's most wonderful alcohol-free drinks. Not anymore. Whether it's a health thing, a lifestyle thing, or you're trying new things, make sure you save yourself from the guessing game of the supermarket shelves and shop with zerozilchzip.co.uk for the world's most carefully curated range of alcohol-free beers, wines, spirits, and more. Health Radio listeners can save 5% with the code HEALTH5. Visit zerozilchzip.co.uk or click our banner on the UK Health Radio website. Discover alcohol freedom with Zero Zilch Zip, because nothing's better.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
So we're back. I just want to say that for any of our listeners out there, if you're not familiar with this process and Dr. Joe's book, Zero Limits, get it, because it really, for Bill and I, is foundational. And as I'm hearing you recount it, Dr. Joe, I'm noticing the similarities in the work that Bill and I do and thinking, gosh, that must have been in our DNA as we formulated and moved forward in our work as well. And I'm sure that that is true for many people around the world, this foundational instruction. So guys, if you're listening, go out and get those books and start to learn this process. You shared with us off camera that with as much work as you've done with Ho'oponopono, you're actually moving into a new venture in your life. Would you tell us about that, a new TV show?
Yes, I'd love to. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm very excited. The thing to know about Ho'oponopono, and this is kind of a blanket statement I'm saying for everybody to get excited. As you do Ho'oponopono, whether you do it on an exact problem you may be having, or you're doing it just in general as a meditation, it opens you up to miracles. So I've been doing it almost 20 years at this point. I'm doing it even right now as I talk to you. And one of the miracles that has come my way was my own TV show, Zero Limits Living. It's been going on for about 6 months. When I first started, I thought, I don't even know if I want to do this, but it was on my wish list. It was on my bucket list. Now, as I started to do it, it's taken off. It's become exciting. I get to inspire people, inform people. And before I knew it, this young new TV show is already now being seen or heard on 1,000 platforms, including Apple TV and Amazon Fire and Roku and Spotify and probably all the other ones you would name. And I'm putting all the episodes for ease of access to a website called ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. And my promise to people who come and listen or watch is every week I'm bringing inspiration and information from guests that are acknowledged experts that I admire and I want to learn from. And so I am doing my best to elevate the world through this TV show. There you go.
Exciting. Tell us about some of the subjects that you've had on, your favorite, just 2 of your favorite ones that you've had on so far.
Okay, well, the one I just had on yesterday was Christy Whitman. And
Oh,
Christy,
she's my friend.
yeah, Christy Whitman's a best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author. But here's what was really fascinating. Not only did we talk about desire and the law of attraction and getting what you want, but She has recently been channeling a group of beings that she's calling the Council. And so this is what I do on my show. I just get very daring. And I said, can I ask a bold question? And she said, yes. And I said, can you channel the Council on my show right now? And she did. And it was spine tingling. This was an otherworldly appearance on my TV show. And what she had to say, or the council through Christy had to say, was actually so incredibly relevant to some things that were going on in the news at that very time. And so that's one of them. Another one is a psychologist, Benjamin Hardy. And I've been just relishing Benjamin Hardy. He wrote a book called Personality Isn't Permanent. The title alone says it all. Personality isn't permanent. And this psychologist is coming out with leading edge information that says, if you want to change your life, if you want to heal your life, if you want to break free from what you think you're destined to be, you can do it. The evidence is there. The science is there. And so he was another one of my guests that I so enjoyed talking to. And so I'm grinning and getting giddy thinking about this joyful experience of being a host to Zero Limits Living.
That is great. It's so nice to have a platform where you can talk to these people and yourself become even better educated. Right. Right then and there, while the audience is too. It's your natural curiosity for these things.
And that's what I'm doing. I am handpicking the people I want to learn from, and I genuinely want to learn from them. But I have an eye and an ear to the idea that, well, I got people watching and they need help. So I ask questions that I think are going to be relevant to them, or the kind of questions they would ask. But I'm also asking questions that I personally want to know the answers to. I went through a divorce, and it was a very rough period. And there was, I can tell a sad story about all of that. And I turned to Stoicism for a lot of the mental fortitude to get through that health and healing and relationship crisis. And one of the authors of a new book called Breakfast with Seneca was one of the early Stoics, had come out, and I went for him. I said, I want to know more about Stoicism. I want to know more about Seneca. So I asked the guy if he'd come on my show, and he did. And we had a very in-depth and very raw conversation on my TV show about Seneca and Stoicism. And part of what I was driven to do was to heal me. I wanted him on the show to help everybody that would be watching, and I wanted people to go read his book. Breakfast with Seneca is a great book. But, selfishly, I had my own healing to do. And I wasn't afraid to be authentic and get on my own TV show and say, how would Seneca handle this? And go for, gut level, real world responses. So I'm having a blast doing the show.
Oh, that's great. That is very, very painful to go through. And I'm sorry for your loss. It's like ripping out part of you. So it's
well, let me talk about that for a second, because there may be somebody going through something that's listening, and let's help as many people as we can. So if you don't mind, yes, I went through a divorce that I thought would be very easy because I was presenting everything. I was just going to walk away and said, you can have it all. That wasn't good enough. It ended up being a persecution of my life and business that lasted 2.5 years, drained me emotionally, drained me financially. During that period, my father died. My best friend died. A family member attempted suicide. I developed a new relationship with a woman who developed Lyme disease and was basically on her deathbed during all of this. And I ended up being her caretaker while trying to take care of myself through a divorce / persecution / grieving. And during all of this, COVID strikes, which basically shut down me and my business because I was traveling all over the world. I had just been in Russia. I was just in the Ukraine. I was just in Iran, just in Italy, all gone. And that was my biggest source of income. So my income's gone. My family is dying off. I'm in a new relationship with somebody who needs healed. And I'm in a divorce that looks like it's not going to end, and it's dark. So I'm the self-help guy. I'm the Ho'oponopono guy. I'm the spiritual guy. What did I do? What did I do to get out of this? So the very first thing is I practice Ho'oponopono every day. I did all of the affirmations. I did all of the self-work. I did all of the processes. I did tapping and emotional freedom techniques and thought field therapy. And, I know these different things and I pulled all of it in. But I also was guided to go to Stoicism. And Stoicism was from 200 centuries ago. And during that time, they lived in far more atrocious times than we do today. Any of us who think we have it rough, go read ancient history. It was unbearably, unimaginably, excruciatingly unpredictable and painful. How'd they get through it? Mindset. Marcus Aurelius, who was the Roman emperor, who's become the poster boy for Stoicism, more or less, and Seneca and Epictetus, those guys all talked about controlling yourself, controlling your own mind. And one of my favorite quotes from Seneca, and I'll say it and shut up so we can continue on here, was, he says, you have the power. You have the power to make things seem hard or easy or even amusing. It's all in your mind. This is Seneca, thousands of years ago, talking about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, how to control your own brain. And when he said you have the power to make it seem, he used the word seem. He didn't say it actually was, but he said you can make it seem a certain way with your perception. You can make it seem hard. Well, it already seemed hard, but you can make it seem easy. Oh, that would be a mind switch right there to make it seem easy, but there's the possibility. Then the further one was you could even make it seem amusing. And those ended up being doors that I can open in my own mind. So as I'm going through all of this stuff, and definitely I'm doing the grieving work and I'm doing all the inner work we know to do, including Ho'oponopono around the clock, I also had to look at my mind. You know what? I can look at this as easy. You know what? There's bound to be a way. If Jerry Seinfeld was going through this, he'd find some joke in it, because that's his purpose in life, live for the joke. And with all of that, it helped me get through it. And I still thank Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and even Epicurus, who's kind of, as Seneca said, from the other camp. They all helped.
Wow. Well, that is one hell of a journey. And isn't it interesting how it coincided with basically the collapse of society too, right?
Yeah.
It was you, and then it was the bigger picture too. all chaotic, right?
We were all in the same storm, but we were in different boats. That's one way I heard it described. So we all have gone through our challenges, and the challenges have been different, including for me. Mine was different from what you may have gone through or some of the listeners have gone through, but we've all been through challenges. And the point is, I really think the divine was behind it all. I think the great something is still behind all of it. I think we've been shaken up, shaken and stirred, so to speak, to force us to go inside of ourselves, to reconnect, to calculate, to reassess our lives. So many people quit their job or lost their jobs. In many ways, they ended up saying that was a good thing, because now they can turn within to find out, what do I really want to do? Or now that I have the time, I can go do what I've been saying I really wanted to do. And thanks to the internet, we stay in contact with everybody. We can learn all kinds of things just by going to YouTube or Google. So in many ways, I think the divine was kind of giving us a timeout and said, you know what, if you want to be happy and healthy and accomplish what you want, reconnect to us, reconnect to the great something.
It's so true. And I just want to thank you for sharing your personal story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's this idea of people outside of the teaching circle that if you have these modalities and you're a teacher, you don't have issues in your life. You don't have problems.
Right.
However, it seems to me, and it's just my perspective, that oftentimes we will get these challenges because of the way we process them. Just like you found a way to not only get through, but thrive and then share. And that's what we as teachers do. Yes. And I know for Bill and I during COVID, the things that we learned were so incredibly profound and life-changing that had that period not happened, it would likely never have come to light. Mm-hmm. So it's the way that we process these things and then spread them to the world that's very important. So I just want to thank you personally for sharing your story and being willing to put it back out there as a lesson and something that other people can take and use in their own lives.
And that is exactly what I'm doing with it. In fact, the one thing I didn't say was I got up every morning during that 2.5 years and made a happy boosterism oriented Instagram video to help support everybody else. And so what I had to do is look in the mirror, put on a happy face, go and make my upbeat video. And then when it's off, deal with attorneys, deal with the crisis, deal with persecution, deal with illness, deal with recovering health. I mean, ugh. But it also taught me, we can still create, we can still work, we can still fulfill our mission, we can still move forward. Viktor Frankl became one of my heroes during all this, and his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is a masterpiece. I wish I had written it, but I didn't want to go through what he went through. And he just basically said, if you have meaning, the suffering ends, and you have the drive and the power to go forward. And I knew that my life mission was then and is still now to inspire people to go for their dreams and attain them. And so I was making my Instagram videos, and still do today, to help people through fulfilling my dream.
Yeah. It's so interesting because that's what Bill and I did. COVID hit. I personally was going through something horrific in my life with my family, people dying and sick. And we went to work. The minute we realized people were suffering with COVID, meaning they didn't know what to do with themselves, they were stuck at home, so much anxiety and pain, we went to work and we did 7 days a week. We just started serving. And of course, the end of the story, it transformed our lives too. But it was our way to start contributing immediately and make something positive happen. So with that being said, we need to take a break and hear from the UK Health Radio. We will be right back.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
It used to be hard to find the world's most wonderful alcohol-free drinks. Not anymore. Whether it's a health thing, a lifestyle thing, or you're trying new things, make sure you save yourself from the guessing game of the supermarket shelves and shop with zerozilchzip.co.uk for the world's most carefully curated range of alcohol-free beers, wines, spirits, and more. Health Radio listeners can save 5% with the code HEALTH5. Visit zerozilchzip.co.uk or click our banner on the UK Health Radio website. Discover alcohol freedom with Zero Zilch Zip, because nothing's better.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
And we are back talking about transforming lives, changing things. So I just have a question about the TV show. What's the format? Is it weekly, daily? Do people come and see you in person? How does it work?
Well, because most of us are still honoring the pandemic, this is online right now, and we're doing it every Friday. The studio itself is on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and it's Lux Media Studios. But we've arranged, at least for the time being, to do everything online. So my guests are online, I'm online. We're doing everything with the wonderful technology of Zoom, and whoever invented Zoom did it at the right time in the right place. And I hope they're multi-million-dollar winners at this point, because they really created a service for all of us. So every Friday, I'm bringing inspiration, information to people, all online. Then we post them on places like the website, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, and then it starts traveling out over those 1,000 other places so people can find it, wherever they're sitting, basically. There's even an app, Lux Media TV app. Download that. You can watch any of their shows, including mine, anytime, any place. So
that sounds like a ton of fun. So I'm going to dig in when we get off the show today. That sounds like so much fun.
Good.
But I want to know, and I know everybody else does too, what else is there that people can be doing right now in their lives? We talked about changing perspective, huge, massive. We talked about really understanding that everything in your life boils down to you and that you can change it through you.
Yeah.
Huge. I know people don't love it, but it's so powerful.
Mm.
What else would you like people to know that they can do right now to change their life?
That's a $1 million question, and I love that you asked it. So let me be blunt. I was homeless at one point in Dallas in the 1970s. I was in poverty when I moved to Houston for about 10 years. My first book wasn't until 1984, and then it was another 10 years before my next book came out. And then they started coming out on a fairly regular basis. And at this point in time, I've written over 80 some books. I think there's 85 books, including a couple of new ones. Hypnotic Selling Secrets just came out. Karmic Marketing just came out. The Abundance Paradigm just came out. I'm cranking out the books. I'm also a musician. I have 15 albums out right now, and my band is the Band of Legends. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not, they are. And I have 200 online products. I have a coaching program. It's at miraclescoaching.com. And I'm saying all this for a reason. I've been very prolific and very productive, but I came from zero, literally, came from homeless, poverty, struggle. And so when I tell this story, and sometimes people will say, and I remember on one radio show, they pushed me into a corner and they said, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that always works? What's the one thing out of everything you tried worked? What's the one thing out of everything you read that works? What's the one thing? And I was a little frustrated going, one thing, you got to do everything. You do everything that comes your way. And then I thought, oh yeah, there is one thing. There is one thing. And that one thing beats talent. It beats luck. It beats connections. It beats virtually anything anybody could ever say. What's the one thing? And this is my answer to your question. Persistence. Persistence. Get up every day and move in the direction of your life mission, your goal, your vision, the thing that you want as your outcome. You know what it is. You've articulated it to other people, and maybe you're kind of hiding it within yourself, but it's there. It's waiting to come out and be born. And people sit around waiting for, to be rescued or for permission or for a magic bullet, when what they need to do is take action, but not one action every day, continuously. I wrote when I was homeless. I wrote when I was in poverty. I wrote when there was nobody and no evidence that I would ever even be published. I wrote. And even after the 1984 book came out, which was a turning point in many ways because it was a dud, nobody noticed, nobody cared. It was another 10 years. I wrote. So my answer to the question is persistence, folks. That beats everything.
I got a strange question for you, Joe.
I love strange questions. Lay it on me.
This is going to sound a little weird, but for years, I thought, I would see you, 80 books, and you're a musician, and all these things. There's so many things, and so I'm wondering, did you have what's commonly referred to as a Kundalini awakening or a Kundalini experience at some point in your life?
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful question because I don't get to talk about this aspect of things. I'm very much a mystic in the marketplace. I have been a mystical oriented person. I have been interested in spirituality. In the early days, people knew me first as a copywriter. I wrote Hypnotic Writing, one of my books. I wrote Buying Trances, one of my books. I wrote There's a Customer Born Every Minute, one of my books. So they just saw me as a business guy. But there was definitely the spiritual side of me over time because I was invited to be in the movie The Secret. My reputation got out there and people saw it. But the very deeply mystical that you're referring to with the Kundalini awakening and so forth, I virtually never get to talk about that because of the various meditations I've done. And I went through sampling active meditations, passive meditations, Eastern meditations, Western meditations. And I've been involved in hypnosis since I was a kid. My company's called Hypnotic Marketing. Some of my very first ebook was Hypnotic Writing, still one of my best sellers. So because of my interest in mind dynamics, hypnosis, Eastern mysticism, experimentation, and all these different meditations, yes, I've had an awakening.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, it is. So ramifications, right? So everybody listening, um, Joe went through this energy shift that is a amazing thing that obviously we don't have enough time to get into today, but this energy shift is very, very natural, but it is extremely powerful, which means that your not only your creativity, but your ability to get stuff done and your popularity and all of these things all dovetail into it, plus much, much more from a mystical perspective. They call them siddhas, spiritual gifts. Anyway, we are pushing because we love it so much interviewing you, Joe, and we would love to have you back again, but because we're running up against it now, can you share one of those, we call it one of the secrets of the masters, one of the things, a technique right here, right now, like every episode, we have these, so you can go back into the logs and see the other ones and get a gem. Joe is going to share one of his gems with us, one of his secrets.
Shall I proceed?
Please do.
All right. Just follow along with me. I call this the witness meditation, and it can lead to a lightning strike of enlightenment in the next couple minutes. So first of all, I invite people to notice that you're thinking. We're all thinking, I'm thinking. It seems to be part of the human experience that thoughts just bubble up. But notice that you're not those thoughts. You can somehow detach from them, witness them, describe them, observe them. They're bubbling up. You can write them down. You can speak them. So you must not be them. So the first consideration is you're not your thoughts. And then as you're sitting there or standing, you have emotions, you have feelings. Maybe you're happy, maybe you're grieving, maybe you're sad, maybe you're confused. There's some sort of feeling that's going on. It could be peace, could be angst, it could be any number of things. But notice you're not that emotion. It's a little bit like wearing it. You can feel it, you can describe it, you can share elements of it with other people through description, but you're not the emotion. That's the second level of aha. And now let's look at your body. You have a body, obviously, and it may feel a certain way. You may be proud of it. You may be wanting to change it. You may loathe it. But notice that you are in it. It's almost like wearing an astronaut suit. And you have these little holes called eyes, which in the suit could be a helmet, and you can look out. But you're wearing this. You are experiencing this body. Love it or hate it, you are in it. And so let's go even deeper. If you're not your thoughts, but are a witness to them, and you are not your emotions, but can observe them, and you're not your body, but are in it, then who or what are you? I venture to say that space between the thoughts and the emotions and inside the body is actually the divine itself. That's the great something. At your core, at your essence, behind all the layers of thoughts and opinions, behind the emotions and feelings, and inside that body, you are housing spirit. And then I will further say that the spirit that you feel behind it all within you, that in some ancient spiritual circles simply calls the witness, is the same essence in me and the same essence in Liz and Bill. It's the same essence in everybody in your life. At that essence, you are God. And let's go even deeper. The more that you take the time to meditate in this way and do this witness meditation, and you merge with the witness behind thoughts and behind emotions and inside the body, the more you awaken. The closer you get to this space between, the closer you get to enlightenment. And one final thought. In this space where you are God, you can receive information from Source, and you can make request of Source. And as I like to say, at this point, expect miracles.
Wow, that is really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
I know our audience is going to absolutely love it. So as Bill said, I mean, we are up against the clock here. It's been amazing talking to you. I think we could talk for hours and hours and hours. But the last question I have for you is, since you're such a prolific author, what are you working on next? What's in your mind right now?
I have 3 books that are already completed. I have ideas for 15 more books.
Wow.
I have produced so many books that some of my fans wrote to me and said, Joe, we love you and we love your books, but can you stop for a while so we can catch up? So I do have a book called The 3-Day Rule. And the 3-Day Rule is pointing to the idea that generally what you're thinking and feeling right now will manifest in 3 days. And that's something everybody should be thinking about right now. What I'm thinking and feeling right now could manifest in 3 days. That should cause you to calm down, slow down, and select what you want to think and feel, knowing it can manifest in 3 days or less.
Ooh, that's a big one. If we all could recognize that we're choosing with these thoughts and feelings, and that we can choose, and that we have to be aware of doing that.
Yes,
That's an amazing book. I'm looking forward to that one myself. All right, Bill McKenna, last thoughts before we have to close for today.
Joe, just can't wait to have you back. Everybody out there, get on Joe's TV show, check it out. Ho'oponopono, if you haven't, his book's on that, Zero Limits. Thank you, Joe. We want to have you back again. We want to have a more in-depth discussion about your awakening and how does it feel to be Joe and have that happen. The world needs to know, right? All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, UK Health
Godspeed
Radio.
to all your listeners.
All right, everybody, we will see you guys all again next week. Until then, stay healthy. And as Dr. Joe said, be persistent. Keep going. Keep working after it. You'll get there. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.